Welcome to episode 211 of AskJackD. Today I go through all of the different principles and practices you need to put in place in your business to build a business that works without you. As some of our great episodes recently, this episode is 2, sponsored by our good friends over at HP.
28 and I'm trying to shape history, pulling from the sky for some strength to take with me, line up the stars, fly away quickly and push the world forward like a tidal wave hit me. I ride the wave swiftly, I fear no man, check my titles mate quickly, came from the sky with the light of day in me and grew my own.
Question for today's episode.
Okay, so today's episode comes from Steve Serametis. He asks, how do you take steps back out of your business and keep the standards?
Good question, Steve. As you guys know, my view a lot of the time is that any great entrepreneur looking to build a substantially sized business needs to be building a business that can operate without them. My head is so still in your date last night, the fact that it's the third one and I didn't know about it. I'm going to try to do my best to proceed anyway. It's critically important, right? And Steve's question points to one major consideration when you are trying to dilute yourself out of the day-to-day operations of the business, which is how do you do that while maintaining quality, right? Because anyone can... What shits me about this conversation is that, you know, particularly like in the 90s and 2000s, particularly some American stuff goes, you know, you need to fire yourself. And it gives this impression that one day the CEO, founder, owner, whatever, comes in and goes, I'm leaving today. Everyone's running the business and not... It gives this almost instantaneous impression of this topic, right? It's far from instantaneous. It is a gradual process. It is a slow process. It's a 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back process, right? Like I know people that have built and sold businesses for over $100 million who have tried to dilute their involvement in their business and a substantial size business 5 times before they got it right. Meaning they diluted their involvement, had to come back. Diluted their involvement, had to come back. 5 times, right? Highly experienced. So it's not an easy task, and it's not a walk in one day, fire yourself, and off you go. Go sit on a beach. That's not how it works. There's several different things you need to do. Number one, in the early days, you need to, firstly, in my view, particularly if this is your first or second business, like you're still a relatively early stage entrepreneur, you need to firstly be across everything yourself. You need to know the different roles. So in my businesses, there is no role in any of my businesses that I haven't personally done at one stage or another over the last 8 years, right? Being across all of that means that you can start to develop systems. Every single task in your business needs to have a system, which is nothing more than a written, documented process as to how to do each task, or how our week is templated in your organization, or how your month is, like weekly meetings, monthly meetings. Like every single thing is documented because what you're building is an engine and a machine, right? If you are across it all, then you can either develop those systems yourself, or at least oversee the development of those systems if you've got other people writing them and doing them and all of that sort of stuff. The systems then need to have accountabilities, right? So what's an example of this? If you were, I think we had a discussion on Ask Jack about this recently. There was somebody had a system for something that wasn't being done. I forget what the specific task was, but essentially all they needed, and like it was a task that needed to happen,
Even I can't think of it now.
No, it was a conversation I was having recently. It's can't remember. It'll come to me. It'll come to me in about 60 seconds, I think. A particular business, a particular entrepreneur, they had a particular system that wasn't being followed. And I was talking to them about it. They were talking to me about it. And what I advised them to do is just create a checklist. And at the end of the day, the checklist needs to be ticked. So everybody that completes this different task, let's say 4 or 5 times a day, they've got a checklist in front of them. The checklist has the 8 different things needed to send a welcome pack to a client, or send a customer the pair of shoes they just bought, or whatever the case may be. And as they do that, they literally tick off 1 through 8, steps 1 through 8 or steps 1 through 13 or however many steps there are in that particular system. They sign it at the bottom, they write the customer name, the date it was done, they put it in the done pile. At the end of the day, they deliver those checklists to their manager. The manager looks at them and goes, cool, that was done, signed, that was done, signed, that was done, signed, that was done, signed. Oh, you missed step 7 here. Rosie, what happened to step 7? Right? So systems aren't enough. You need to have systems, and then you need to have accountabilities. That's number one, right? But systems and accountabilities, again, aren't enough. The second thing you need is truly great people, right? And this is an interesting one because it's something that I've gone through over the last few years in that you can have systems, you can have accountabilities, but if you've got people, if you've got particularly managers and leaders that aren't driving and enabling and holding accountable those behaviours, then the systems and the accountability, if no one's checking them and no one's talking about them and no one's having conversations around them or, doing the weekly performance management stuff, then they'll fall by the wayside as well, right? And so at some point in the early years, you will need, almost by necessity, right, lack of revenue, you'll need to be hiring relatively inexperienced people. Your business will get to a point where the minute you can afford, again, if you're trying to build a substantial business, you're trying to build a lifestyle business, it's a bit different, it's probably a bit easier to be honest. But if you're trying to build a substantial business, then in which case you're happy to reinvest the profits each year because you're trying to build a X million-dollar company, you don't need to withdraw profits every single year. Then the minute you can afford it, you need to start hiring and employing people with significantly more experience than you, right? Once you get a great COO with more experience than you, Mr. or Mrs. Entrepreneur, who is typically really bad at operations, they will largely take control of and responsibility for a lot of what we're discussing now, right? The minute you can get a great COO, operations manager, maybe operations manager tends to be more junior than a COO, they'll tend to drive all this for you. But the COO needs to be more experienced than you. They can't be a 22-year-old that loves what you do and has never known anything to do with operations. That's not the COO. The minute you can afford it, get someone you can afford. Bears here. Third thing, systems and accountabilities, great people. Thirdly, reportability. And so if you want to maintain quality, particularly if you're growing fast, you need to have reportability. So what are the key metrics and the key deliverables that need to happen in your business daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly? And then you need to have reportability coming to you daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. And so my reports come to me weekly from my COO. Everybody below my COO reports into him. So my exec team reports into the COO, who reports into me. Everybody below the exec team, the leadership team below the exec team report into the execs. And then the superstar level down the bottom report into the leaders, report into the execs, report into the COO, reports into me, right? And so the leaders probably get reports every day. The execs probably get reports every day. The COO gets reports every day. I get reports once a week, and I get a main board report, like a company overview of performance, productivity, challenges, objectives, where we're winning, where we're not, on a monthly basis, which is very comprehensive, right? And so we've got systems and accountability, so everything's getting done at the ground level. We've got great people, so that the nuance, the management, the leadership is there without you needing to micromanage it eventually when you can afford that level of management and leadership in your business. And then you've got reportability, which goes from granular daily to monthly to quarterly to annually, right? And if you've got all of that in place, then you're different to 99.99% of businesses in Australia. And slowly but surely putting those systems and principles in play enables you to build a great business that runs efficiently and effectively without you. In the comments below, guys, what I want to know from you is this. What is your, and genuinely please do this because I'm genuinely curious in it, because we can construct more content and curriculum around this for you guys. What is your number one biggest challenge in delegating and diluting yourself from your business? In the comments below, I'll be there. Let's have that discussion. Rosie, I hope the fourth date goes well.
If there is a fourth date.
See you guys in the next episode.